What's up, everybody? The Bears are playing host to the Detroit Lions this weekend. One of the few times the Detroit Lions will be playing outside. Is this an opportunity for the Bears to salvage one game before this season ends? Well, we got that coming up. We got a special guest, a lot of cool things. So, Sammy, let's just go ahead and start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Adam Rank.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois, the sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the weekend edition of the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. So glad that you're here today. It is going to be a special occasion because I've wanted to have one of my good friends on for quite some time. We are able to track him down. This is actually... There's no slow season for what he does, but I want to welcome to the show right now the COO of Circa, downtown Las Vegas events and all that good stuff. It is my friend, Dave Rosborough. Dave, so good to have you on board. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. What a pleasure to be with you, man. Thank you for inviting me on.
No, I've wanted to do this for quite some time because a couple of years ago, we did a show down at the D in Las Vegas, which is one of the sister properties for Circa. So anybody who's been to Circa, you know the D, the Golden Gate, the Circa. We did a show, which I thought was pretty good. And I'm like, oh gosh, we got to do that again. The only problem is we talked about fantasy football. Now you and I are we're actually in 2 leagues this year. How are we so horrible in fantasy football this season?
It's brutal. I mean, this particular league, I can't get off of the bottom half every year. And I don't think very highly of our competition.
No,
they're wonderful
idiots.
Dudes and a really
wonderful
good
people.
Not particularly knowledgeable about fantasy football. They're just flying off the seat of their pants. And we're getting crushed. You and I are in last place and second to last place this year. It's brutal, man.
And I was telling Sammy and Anello before we started, I go, and when we drew name, I think it was we drew names out of a hat.
Yep.
And I was number 1, and I did not want number 1 because I didn't want to feel obligated to take CMC or CeeDee Lamb. You had number 4,
yep.
So we swapped. And did I take Jamar Chase? No, I took Breece Hall. Like I might as well have just stuck with CMC. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you knew this. When Jordan Mason, the whole thing with Jordan Mason went down, I was 2 seconds behind you because I was going to pick up Jordan Mason.
Yeah, one of the few things I did right this year in that league, but it didn't help. And okay, first round pick, we missed on that one. But yeah. I mean, every pick thereafter, I've gone back to the draft board. We missed on that one. I wish you greater success in your other fantasy endeavors, but we took it on the chin in that league this year.
Well, I have 2 leagues that I'm the most invested in, and it's this one, and it's my league of record with my friends from Corona, California. Both of them I'm doing terrible in because I got CJ Stroud as my quarterback in both of those leagues. These are the leagues where people follow intently what I say all the time, and they will draft the players that I love. They didn't draft Zamir White. That one they let me have, but everybody else, Saquon Barkley had no opportunity to get him, and some of these other guys, and it's just been tough. But, it's been terrible for us. But, watching from afar and everything that you guys are doing at Circa, you guys are killing it. How has your year been going over there?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a super exciting year. We're growing all over the board. We're in 5 jurisdictions now for sports wagering, which is going great. Luckily, had the opportunity to partner with you for our Illinois endeavor. That's fantastic. Met a ton of wonderful people out there. So we're going out to Illinois a couple times a year. I've had the privilege of going out twice this year. And it's my son's birthday coming up, which has taken me off this upcoming trip. So I got a wonderful 15-year-old boy.
Oh my gosh, he's 15?
Instead of going out and seeing the Lions take on the Bears this weekend, I'll be spending some time with him. But we do got a pretty awesome crew coming out this weekend to Chicago to see the Lions take on the Bears. So that's going to be pretty damn exciting.
Oh, very cool. I know when you probably booked that trip, you're like, this will be a big game for the Bears. And nothing has been a big game for the Bears over the last number of years. It's been a disappointment. I feel like I don't know. I get myself worked up every year, kind of like our fantasy season, and it just ends in disappointment. And I don't know what to do. I hope there's some hope in the future.
I think you got something to be hopeful for, and this is coming from a beaten down Browns fan.
You're a Browns fan, yeah.
Yeah, so take this for what it's worth, but it's that old adage of until you find your franchise quarterback, the search for that guy consumes your organization. And though the answer isn't a definitive yes right now, I think it's a really compelling maybe. And to even have that's a pretty good position to be in. And you haven't been in that spot in a long time. I'd love as a Browns fan to be in that spot right now. So I envy where you're at, though it hasn't been as encouraging as perhaps we thought it would be going into the preseason.
Yeah, I thought it would be there would be a lot more success, but when you look at his numbers statistically compared to Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, very comparable. Like they're right on, spot on. The only problem is the Broncos and the Commanders are both edging towards the playoffs. Both of them have really good opportunities. Both have 9 wins. We're not there. We're not there win wise, but still, I feel pretty good. I will ask you, and it's so funny because I do remember when you took your son out to LA. And you went to the game at what was then the Home Depot Center in Carson, California. Not a great stay for you. Not a great stay hotel wise. I'm glad the boy recovered and made it to 5th, but
he's intact.
He's intact. But the Browns, I don't know what to make of this because I don't think anything that's happened with the Cleveland Browns could be laid at the feet of Kevin Stefanski. Do you think he's in trouble? Because we joke around with all these coaches who I feel are good coaches, like Kyle Shanahan, Stefanski, coaches who are like good, but you're like, he could be on his way out. You're like, listen, I would love to have him in Chicago. What's the read on Kevin Stefanski? Is he safe in Cleveland?
I think so. I hope so. When you got a 2-time coach of the year, I think that has a particular amount of cachet, especially with how he did that. Yeah. That one year with, I think it was 5 different quarterbacks in 1 year and turning out the season that they did. I think that he's earned himself some latitude. And I certainly hope that he has another bite at the apple because what's out on the open market, it's just not that compelling to me. And that's not an easy job to hire for. I think that the greatest measure from where I'm sitting as to whether or not a head coach is toast is, are the guys still playing for him? Yeah. And the Browns have been mired with injuries, notwithstanding the worst trade in the history of the NFL that they've been dealing with. And I think the guys are still playing. I still think that he's rallying the team around him to an unsuccessful extent, sure. But I think that the underpinnings of what can be an encouraging 2 or 5 years down the road are still there. So I don't know it more than anybody else does, but I certainly hope that he still has a couple years in Cleveland.
Oh, you're one of those Vegas sharps, But I agree with you though. I think that he's in a good spot, playing with quarterbacks like Jameis Winston, who Jameis Winston had his moments.
What a lovable guy, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's funny. Like I've met him a couple of times, and he's decent enough friends with MJD. So I really got an opportunity to spend some time with him. What an engaging character. Like you understand why his teammates love him so much, because just in a limited time with him, you're like, oh, this is really like a nice guy. I know he's had some things in the past, but he's seemed to have really moved past that. Credit to him. So I like where his head's at right now, and everything that I hear about him seems very positive. So I hope Cleveland does the right. I mean, selfishly, I hope Cleveland fires Stefanski and he comes to Chicago. But I hope for your sake that they give him I hope they give him a real chance with a real quarterback to go out there and prove himself. But I know you've got limited time. I do want to pick some games with you. If you're down for that, are you in?
Oh yeah.
Let's make some picks. And Sammy, roll the animation for the sick picks.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.
I want to let everybody know that the world's largest sportsbook in Las Vegas is right at your fingertips in Illinois. The Circa Sports app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Illinois and experience high betting limits, better moneyline splits, more in-game betting, and the best customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Illinois. If you or someone you know has a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAMB to 833-2353. 4. And we did do our draft was at Circa in Las Vegas. Sorry that we had to do it at your work. I know that had to be a drag for you, but
that was an absolute blast. Are you kidding me? I've been lobbying to get that done for years, and we had a really, really good time together. We're taking it in the shorts on the win total for the year, but man, we had some special times together to get the draft off.
Oh my gosh, I will tell you, and I came out the morning of the draft, mostly because Arsenal's game was at 9, so I had a little wiggle room. If Arsenal would have been playing at 6, I would have flown out the night before, so I didn't miss it. But it was great, able to watch the Arsenal game on the big screen there at Circa, and then also go out there and spend some time with all of our friends, even Tokyo Rose, even Craig, Spicy, all those guys. But in any event, they're killing us in fantasy. Let's talk about some picks, though. Saturday. Now we're recording this on Friday afternoon, so I want to let everybody know. So we're not pulling any funny business. Saturday slate opens with the Houston Texans on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just picking winners. If you want to put anything else out there, that's fine with me. I truly believe because CJ Stroud has ruined my season so much this year, I can't even root for the Texans. The Kansas City Chiefs have been flying by the seat of their pants, winning all these one-score games, but I truly believe that Patrick Mahomes being healthy and cleared and ready to go, I think they take this one over the Texans.
Cleared and ready to go. I don't know how entirely healthy he is. And I'm going to take the other approach, and I'm going to take the point spread into consideration.
Please do. No, that's you.
The Chiefs have been winning these exceptionally close games all year long, and kudos to them. Yeah. Very polarizing team for everybody. I think there's a lot of Chiefs fatigue out there, so there's a whole mass of NFL fandom rooting against them futilely because they keep winning these last-minute field goal games. And the Texans aren't the high-flying offense that we hoped they'd be this year. I thought they'd be much more exciting. Yeah, right? But I would say that's a pretty balanced squad. And I think D'Amico's got them playing hard. And when you got a 3.5-point line, anticipating another tight game, I don't know who's going to win, but I'll definitely take 3.5 points on that one.
When you say that there's a lot of public fatigue on the Kansas City Chiefs, do you find that in the sports book as well? Does that bleed over where people show up to Circa and they're going to Circa Swim or Stadium Swim, excuse me. I've been admonished for that before. Stadium Swim. Sorry, Derek, don't get mad at me. Do you find that the public's like, I'm so sick of this team, I'm going to take a team like the Texans?
Absolutely. It's an emotional hedge where I just laid out the case why I intellectually think that that's a good bet. There's a lot of people who are just making emotional hedges, and they want a rooting interest in them losing, that they're going to make that wager. And you can hear it. You know, the world's largest sports book has an electricity to it on Sunday morning. Yeah. And it's because of decisions like this where people are rooting for what they want to happen. In the same way that there was a large swath of exhaustion associated with New England's success over the years, that is now fully in place for Kansas City.
That makes an absolute lot of sense. And people are upset. Travis Kelce's in the limelight because he's dating Taylor Swift, and there's a lot of things. A lot of people get emotional. Now, I want to make sure that I have this correct when I'm looking at this. Wow. Okay, now the Pittsburgh Steelers, the second game on Saturday, heavy underdogs going into Baltimore. The Ravens in the early part of the season, their defense had not been playing well, but over the last month or so, this Ravens team has gotten a lot better, especially on the defensive secondary side of things. I truly believe that the Ravens are going to win this game. I'm just not sure how big they win this.
I agree with you. So this is a slugfest within division, so it can go any way, as you know. Pretty sure the Steelers picked up the first matchup of the year. Yeah. And if I recall correctly, that was with a hobbled Roquan in the middle of the defense, who after a bye week should be absolutely ready to throw those shoulder pads around. So the Baltimore historically has been so successful late in the regular season that they go into the playoffs so strong with a tailwind. And I anticipate the same for this year. And they're a healthier squad. I don't know to what extent. I wouldn't be laying any points here, but just taking Baltimore money line, that's a smart bet.
No, I like that one a lot. Whoa! I don't endorse it, but I like that pick. I like the Ravens to win that one. I think that they're getting healthy and getting right at the right time, and they're also 4-1 coming off bye weeks during the John Harbaugh era over the last 5 years. They've done a really nice job of that. Moving on to Cleveland, your Browns on the road to face the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, the Browns heavy underdogs in this one. When I was watching them play the Kansas City Chiefs, now I know that score sort of got out of hand, but again, talking to your point earlier, the Browns team was still competing and was still very competitive. And I think, again, there's no letdown with that team. How are you liking the way this is working out for you or your Browns in this one?
I like the way they're playing. To your point, that Kansas City game should have been much more lopsided from a final score than what it was. The quantity of turnovers that Cleveland gave away, I think it was five or six. They were just messy, and that's what you get. That's what you sign up for when you got the Jameis Winston experience. Now with DTR behind center, I'm not particularly enthusiastic. I loved him coming out of UCLA. I was super excited to have him on the squad. My only real experience with watching DTR is when I flew to Cleveland last year to watch him play Baltimore. And different squad, different circumstances. But boy, was he not ready to be behind center. And I don't think that we're going to get a polished product this week. We know that Cincinnati can put up numbers in bunches. The secondary for Cleveland has not been nearly as good as what it looks like on paper. I will begrudgingly take the Bengals here.
No, it's a tough one. I mean, I would take the Bengals to win this one as well. I think that this game, actually, both teams end up scoring a lot of points because there's a lot of deficiencies on the defensive side for the Cincinnati Bengals as well. This is the reason why Joe Burrow has to go out there and throw for as many yards as he does. DTR, though, I'm hopeful that someday he can develop. I remember when he was playing at UCLA and he was coming out of the draft, I really wanted him to come to the Bears because he strikes a similar profile to Justin Fields, having watched a lot of the things that those two guys did, like the same kind of, like whenever I always feel like your backup quarterback should mirror your starting quarterback so you don't have to change the offense too much. I do like what Tyson Bagent did for the Bears, so I'm not upset about that at all. But still, I have a lot of faith in DTR. I'm just not sure it's going to be right now. So I like the Bengals as well. The Cardinals on the road to face the Carolina Panthers. I was let down by the Carolina Panthers last week against the Dallas Cowboys in a matchup where you thought that Bryce Young, who'd been progressing, was going to go out there and show some things. Now the Cardinals come into this game as the favorites, even though they're on the road. I like the Cardinals to win this one. I do need more fantasy points out of Kyler Murray because some of the leagues I did survive in, it's because I have Kyler Murray, but he has been inconsistent. I need a little bit more consistency out of him.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals still have something to play for. So I expect them to come out, take care of this game. Carolina has been playing up to their competition. You know, that was a huge impact for Survivor all throughout the year. And I'm sure you know, we run the world's largest legal sports competition with right. Circa Survivor. 14 million paid out this year. And Carolina has had their thumb on the scale of that contest all year long. And they've been playing up to competition on the schedule. So I wouldn't put a bunch of units on this game, but making the selection, I'm going with the more dynamic offense, the more complete team, and the squad that actually has something to play for.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking about that, like the Survivor contest, because I did follow it along. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not able to participate in it, but I do. It's always fun to follow along, and you always know, like, who the public, like, because you're basing this, even if you're doing fantasy sports, like, this is the team that, like, oh, like, stream your defense against this team. And the Panthers were one of those early, like, who are the Panthers playing? Try to stream that defense or look ahead to the next week, like, stream that team. But they played a little bit better, but still we go with the Arizona Cardinals. Philadelphia Eagles on the road to face the Washington Commanders. The Eagles come into this one as road favorites. They've played earlier this year. The Eagles kind of handled them. I mean, the Commanders have played well this season, but it feels like any time that they've gone up against a playoff caliber team, they've not been able to win. I believe the Eagles will take this one. I'm sure that the Washington Commanders are going to be juiced to the gills, but I like the Eagles in this one. Which way are you leaning?
Beautifully said. I don't know if I'm more excited about any game this weekend other than this one. Awesome division matchup late in the season, two very capable teams. I think you hit the nail on the head with regard to how Washington has fared up against top tier talent this year, and they folded. They haven't been able to keep that pace. I anticipate the same this week. And, when you're playing Philadelphia, who are you going to stop? And that's kind of been the dichotomy we've seen this year defensively. Are you going to go all out to try to curtail Saquon Barkley's beautiful resurgence? Or are you going to take it to Jalen? I don't think that Washington has the setup on the defensive roster to effectively do either or both.
No, I'm with you. And let this be a lesson, too, as I spin this back to fantasy. So, again, sitting at the number 4 pick, I was trying to get too cute and hoping that the numbskulls that we play with weren't going to draft Saquon Barkley. But unfortunately, they all listen to me. They listen to us. And we didn't get Saquon, and I'm like, I should have just not been a coward and just should have taken Saquon 4th overall and not even worried about it. My year would be completely different. I would be in the playoffs. Because my team wasn't bad. Like, I look at that team and I'm like, this team's good. Like, I got an extra, like, I always have to sit, like, my receivers are so good. I don't start Brian Thomas Jr. And yet I was still losing weekend. I blame CJ Stroud for that. But in any event, that's a little side note on this one. Michael Penix Jr. is going to be starting for the Atlanta Falcons this week as they play host to the New York Giants. According to this, it seems like the Falcons are a plus touchdown favorite over the New York Giants. Do we think that Michael Penix, who has not played significant time here in the NFL, are we really trusting him in this one? The Giants that's a professional team. But I like the Falcons to win this one, just straight up picking a winner. I would take the Falcons.
Yeah, me too. Are we a confident believer in Penix? No. Nope. He is an unproven commodity that we know has a cannon for an arm, during his Husky days. But he's definitely got to take his lumps so he can learn how to play the position at the pro level. So is there confidence in Atlanta? No. Is there explicit and profound disparity against the Giants? Yeah. Yeah. A bet for the Falcons is a bet against the Giants, not for the Falcons.
Pretty much. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see too, because Michael Penix can actually throw the ball down the field. When you see Kirk Cousins throw a ball, it comes out like a Jamie Moyer fastball. Like, goodness gracious. Like, you have to wait so long for it to get there. But I'm glad that the Falcons made that decision to go with Michael Penix, because we all have eyes. Like, we see that Kirk Cousins is not the quarterback that he once was. This is an interesting game to me because our producers are huge Titan fans. The Titans are getting 3.5 on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have the easiest slate to the playoffs. From a fantasy standpoint, I love Anthony Richardson this week. The Titans have given up like the 5th fewest yards in the NFL, but like the 2nd most play. It's unbelievable how this works. I kind of like the Colts to win this one. Which way are you looking?
I wouldn't be picking this game outside of the context of this show because it's such a toss-up to me. And Anthony Richardson is a darn enigma. He is so gifted athletically, but so erratic from a performance perspective. And even looking at last week's game, some of the plays that he ran were otherworldly. It was a highly caffeinated Cam Newton out there. And then the next play, it's just a totally wayward pass that you would admonish a college quarterback from throwing. So I wouldn't be putting any of my livelihood on this game because of my lack of trust in Richardson, though he definitely is fun to watch. I certainly hope he grows over the years. When pressed, I'm on Indianapolis.
No, yeah. In the context of this one, this is one that I would avoid. Anthony Richardson is one of those guys that I'm really, because he's on waiver wires all over the place in all of my leagues. And I've actually gotten to the semifinals in a league where I have CJ Stroud to the point where I've contemplated putting in Anthony Richardson, but you got to really look at the scoring of your league settings to say, like, is this a good idea? And if you're in a league where you get 6 points for passing touchdowns, which is the league that we play in, Probably not worth your while in that sense. A quarterback who's been playing well in a way over the last couple of weeks, Aaron Rodgers. His Jets are favorites at home against the LA Rams. Rams have something to play for. Aaron Rodgers spending so much time going after Ryan Clark and all these other guys. West Coast team on the road in that early window, but I still kind of like the Rams in this one.
I'm with you. I mean, they got momentum right now. McVay has those boys running all over the field. And, I think I have a friend in saying that I'm not the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan in the world, though I celebrate his recent offensive resurgence because I have a lot of Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams in fantasy. I'm not going to be betting on that team right now. They have nothing really to play for. There's a lot of rumors milling about the injury status of some of their key guys on offense. And I really like that we now have a full complement of offensive weapons for the Rams and McVay doing what he does to make that offense hum.
And anybody who survived the Cooper Kupp bagel last week, don't be afraid of him. Don't be afraid of him in this one. There is not you, but a lot of people spend too much time looking backward. Like, oh, this guy had 0 last week. There's no way I'm going to play him now. Like, actually, that's when you should play him because Sean McVay knows as well as anybody. He sits in those meeting rooms and is like, all right, we need to get the ball to Cooper Kupp in order for us to be successful. They got away with one in San Francisco. They're not going to do it again in New York if they don't find a way to get the ball to Cooper Kupp. One game in the NFC that I absolutely love, and I think this is going to be a fascinating game. The Minnesota Vikings are on the road to face the Seattle Seahawks. I will admit this. The Seahawks have played much better this season than I anticipated with first-time head coach Mike Macdonald. They're right there fighting for the playoffs as well. They're fighting for the NFC West. But the Minnesota Vikings always seem to find a way to win a game. And people are like, well, they're getting lucky. But at the same time, it's like there are coaches that just somehow know how to win, just like Matt Eberflus knew how to lose. I like the Vikings in this one on the road, even though Seattle's a tough place to play. It's outdoors and all that stuff. I like the Vikings here.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. Vikings have been a tremendous amount of fun to watch this year. And we get some good Minnesota crowds in the book. So it's been fun cheering on with them. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this season. It has been more surprises than I think are normal. And one of the most beautiful surprises is how Darnold's playing.
Yeah.
Now, going back to our Carolina pick a minute ago, it wasn't that long ago that Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold were fighting for a totally irrelevant starting position on that, futile team. Now these guys are playing for playoff bound teams. And I'm just a big supporter of that underdog story. I love watching them play. And they keep proving it all year long. They don't have much at stake as the Seahawks and the inconvenient truth of quarterbacks behind center and Geno. But it's hard to bet against those guys with how they're playing. I'm with the Vikings.
No, me too. And it is what I think they're like 22-6 or 23-6 in one-score games. People are like, they can't keep getting lucky. I'm like, no, they do. Like you do when you're a good team. You find ways to win. And I think you just got to give credit to the coach on that one. Patriots, Bills. I don't think we need to spend much time with this one because obviously the Bills are going to win. Right? We're not thinking anything funny. Drake. Yep. The one thing I do like about Drake May is I've seen his projection. His projection is 200 passing yards, which I think he achieves because he's done that for 4 consecutive games. His projection is 0.5 touchdowns, which he's reached in 6 consecutive games. So if you're looking for any way to keep yourself entertained in that one, I don't know what any of those numbers mean. Let's move on to Miami. They play host to the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, I believe, have a 2% chance of making the playoffs. What do we think of the 49ers? Obviously, they lose the Thursday night game to the LA Rams. The Dolphins sort of still in the mix for a playoff. I don't know. The Dolphins are one of those teams I've just kind of lost track of this year. There's just nothing to them. No. I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm taking the Dolphins.
Okay.
I don't know. I literally don't know. I
think that's it. Is that you're touching on this is a rather uninspiring game. With the way that the 49ers season has gone, it is not at all what we expected them to be. Year over year, their offensive production has dwindled for a lot of the reasons that we know. And then Miami has been really interesting. And I don't know if it has been the injuries or the shoddy offensive line play, or if we're looking at a dynamic where, the Wildcat took over, the offensive conversation for a half season. The RPO play took over the whole conversation for a year. But then defensive coordinators figured that out, and then they evaporated. Is that what's happening with this fast-paced, rhythmic, short pass offense of the Dolphins and Mike McDonald? I don't know, but they are not putting it out there. The output of this offense has been so anemic all year long. I'm not even excited to watch them play. If anything, just take the under on the game.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, I think that's the way to go in that one. Ever since Tua suffered that injury again, and it was so gruesome, one more time, and it's like, God, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? And then he returns, and I don't know. There's just something about Dolphin games that are just so unappealing. And I know every week I actually avoid I'll admit as we've got later in the season, and there's a game or two where I might not watch. It's usually the Dolphins or it's either New England or the Dolphins. I'm like, I'm not interested in watching these guys. It's funny though. I still like watching the Jags. I still, for whatever reason, like watching the Raiders. Brock Bowers, I guess, is the reason why for the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are favored in this one. You know what though? I really like what Mac Jones is doing. Like, I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence is in trouble down in Duval or anything like that, but as far as backup quarterbacks go, Mac Jones looks like one of the best. Like, he's upper echelon of backup quarterbacks. I kind of like the Jags here.
Yeah, I mean, he's real streaky. He had a couple of amazing games in New England, and then he turned into a pumpkin. I think that's who he is. Brock Bowers, by the way, amazing guy. I've had the chance to meet him. He's a fantastic dude. And, man, what a beautifully productive rookie season we're getting out of him. All right, so here's the one game on the schedule that has two teams that aren't going to the playoffs. It's the only one on the slate. So what do they really have to play for? I do think that the Raiders have a coach that the player base still wants to keep around. They've had challenging circumstances this year, and they don't want to shift. They were verbal about that this last offseason. I still think that these guys have something to play for, and they're going to be playing hard for them. They do have pieces on both sides of the ball that can make plays and convert to points. I'm taking the Raiders here.
You know what? You convinced me. All right, I'm in. That's a great point. I know that, and I hear a lot about this too, about Antonio Pierce, and there's questions about his long-term viability with the Las Vegas Raiders. But I'm like, why would you do you really look at this Raiders team and think it's the coach? I think with the quarterback situation, they were already behind the eight ball before the season started.
Yes, I agree. And I think that they went into the season with that acknowledgement. So even if, Antonio Pierce did everything right, what would you squeaked another 2 wins maybe out of this season? This wasn't that type of year. And if you get the right personnel from head coach down, what you have is a real leader of men right there. And the team spoke up to indicate as such.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about that. Obviously, Luke Getsy wasn't the right hire. You got to go out there and try to figure that one out. If they can get the offensive coordinator right, if they can get a pretty decent quarterback, I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is somebody that they're eyeing in that kind of situation, but I think the Raiders could have a bright future, especially with Brock Bowers as good as he is. Speaking of backup quarterbacks, Cooper Rush has played pretty well as they play host to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Cowboys have actually played worse at home this year. The Buccaneers have been killing it. Baker Mayfield playing great. So I should wear my glasses more. Road dogs or road favorites, I should say, are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for good reason. I got the Buccaneers in this one.
Oh, yeah, with a bullet. I think that the 3.5-point spread that we have posted right now is far too generous. I'm all over the Bucs. Again, as a Browns fan, I love Baker, and I'm a huge supporter of him. He's a great dude and a great locker room guy, and to see him have success in Tampa Bay, I think is a wonderful thing. Cowboys just can't get it done at home. Tampa Bay is a great team, complete squad. They're going to take care of Dallas.
Baker Mayfield won a playoff game against the Steelers.
Yes.
They're like, nope, we're out. I'll never understand. Never understand that. I don't mean to bring up old stuff, Dave, but it's like it still bothers me, and I'm with him.
Those Hulu commercials must not have sat well with the front office staff.
Maybe not, but it's one of those things like who's available to do these commercials? Like Baker Mayfield's like, I got time, and he was funny in them. I don't think that I would. Good. They were good commercials. He wasn't embarrassing the franchise. God. Anyways, listen, two franchises that have made questionable decisions. Saints, Packers, Monday night. Packers double touchdown favorites. There's no way. It's the Packers. What do you think?
They're playing so well right now.
Yeah.
They're a fun team to watch. Jordan Love's doing it. So in addition to the encouraging defunct quarterback that are now part of playoff-bound team conversation, another storyline this year that I've loved has been running back that was overused but productive, and then was effectively thrown away by their previous team. And to see what Jacobs have done this year has been so fun to watch. The Jacobs and Henrys and Saquons of the world having that second wind inside of a competent franchise, good for them. That's an easy guy to root for. So I'm all over the Packers this week. 14 points, 14 and a half, 2 touchdowns in the NFL. That's a tough pill to swallow because of the degree of parity that we have. So I would be cautious with that, but the Packers are going to boat race this squad.
It's robust. I'll tell you that right now. And I saved the best for last. The Chicago Bears playing host to the Detroit Lions. I pick the Bears every week, and I'm never going to change that. And I'm never going to change who I am because that's what I do.
God bless you.
Is there any hope for the Bears in this one?
No, there's not. But I still think that there's green shoots for the franchise at all. So hope to win the game. I don't see that. Anything is possible. And I just talked about the parity of the league. So could they win? Of course. But I don't see that happening. Dan Campbell is the man. He's got that team fired up despite losing their almost entire defensive squad throughout the year. They're going to be playing strong, and they're ready to pick off a division opponent before they get into the playoffs.
Yeah, they've got something to prove after David Montgomery went down and a bad loss last week. This is the wrong time to be playing the Detroit Lions, but I'm still picking the Chicago Bears. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, those were the sick picks presented by Circa Sports Illinois. And that usually ends. I forgot. We don't have an outro animation, but listen, that's it. Oh, you know what, though? I will say before we go, I got to let everybody know that at Windy City Sports Cards, we'll do this one. At Windy City Sports Cards, they specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you're a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, or Sky, they've got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles, in addition to their high-priced, or in addition to their Chicago-focused items. If you're a fan of the Browns, if you wanted to go out there and get an old autographed photo of Baker Mayfield from his progressive days, I bet our friends over at Windy City Sports Cards could hook that up for you. We had a great show with Tyler Scott this week, going over some great cards. Oh, I got a Larry Doby card. Cleveland baseball legend. I don't know if I could say Indian still, but like Cleveland baseball legend. But in any event, listen, want to thank you so much for being here. I know you're a very busy individual. I know there's a lot of great things happening with the Circa and all the sister properties. I see that the D is getting a deep cleaning. A lot of fun stuff going on. I will attest to this. January is the best time to be in Las Vegas. You might, because with all the college football playoffs, NFL stuff, and if you get there a day early, you can watch college basketball. There was so much stuff going on. And so I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here today.
Man, thank you so much for having me. It's always such a pleasure to see you, man. I'm really proud of you with everything that you're doing. The show is fantastic. We're privileged to be part of it with you. And anybody that listened to this, take everything I said with a big grain of salt, because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just a fan. But we have such exciting football on deck. This weekend is going to be amazing, with the college football playoff and NFL, and then leading into a really compelling playoff slate. So there's going to be electricity in Circa for the next couple months. We'd love to have anybody down.
All right. Well, very good. You know what? We'll do this again. We'll bring you back during the playoffs because I had a lot of fun. This was great. And so we'll want to do that again. But listen, I'm going to let you go. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for being here for the weekend edition of the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. For Dave, I'm Adam. Sammy, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.